The warning unheeded. The grand chamber of the Vakari conclave pulsed with a golden light that emanated from the crystalline dome overhead. 500 representatives from across the galactic conclave had gathered, their varied forms, from the insectoid Exarchot to the gaseous Nelthian entities, creating a tapestry of life that had ruled the stars for millennia. At the center stood the Elder Council, 7 ancient beings whose translucent blue skin and elongated limbs marked them as the oldest species in known space, the Vakari. High Elder Filian's voice resonated through the chamber, amplified not by technology, but by the natural acoustics of the space. "We stand at a crossroads," he announced, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of grave concern among his kind. "Our scouts have encountered a new species in the Orion Spur. They call themselves humans." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. New species were discovered with regularity, but rarely did they warrant a full conclave gathering. "These humans," Filian continued, "are unlike any we have catalogued before. They are physically unremarkable, bictal, carbon-based, short-lived. But their minds—" He paused, his skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that conveyed deep distress. "Their minds are dangerous." Elder Vosh, standing to Filian's right, stepped forward. Her form was more withered than his, a testament to her greater age. "I have studied the records of their world. They call it Earth. In their brief history, they have waged thousands of wars upon themselves. They've developed weapons that could devastate their entire planet. And yet they've survived. Not through unity or wisdom, but through sheer relentless adaptability." A representative from the Kraltech Federation, a race of silicon-based crystalline beings, raised a glittering appendage. "Many species experience violent phases in their development. They outgrow it." Vosh's skin darkened, a sign of disagreement. "The humans embrace it. Where we seek harmony, they thrive in conflict. Where we build consensus, they debate endlessly. Where we plan for millennia, they act in moments." "What are you suggesting, elders?" asked a Nelthian, its gaseous form shifting impatiently. "That we quarantine an entire species based on their psychology. The conclave has never taken such a measure without direct provocation." Filian's voice lowered, forcing the assembly to quiet themselves to hear him. "I am suggesting that we observe from a distance, that we do not engage, that we allow them time, perhaps thousands of their years, to mature before we make contact." The chamber erupted in objections. The conclave had existed for too long under the principle of guided integration, bringing new species into the fold, teaching them the ways of advanced civilization, and helping them overcome their primitive tendencies. First Minister Zolek of the Ridari Combine silenced the chamber with a piercing whistle from his breathing apparatus. The amphibious leader had risen to power on promises of expansion and resource acquisition. "With respect to our venerable elders," he gurgled, "we cannot ignore the resources of the human sector. Our preliminary scans show 17 habitable worlds in their vicinity, rich with minerals and rare elements our industries require. If the humans are as primitive as described, they would benefit from our guidance while we utilize these resources." Elder Vosh's skin flashed danger patterns. "You misunderstand. The humans are technologically primitive compared to us, yes, but their advancement rate is unprecedented. They've progressed from basic flight to rudimentary space travel in less than a single Vakari lifetime. Their adaptability makes them unpredictable. All the more reason to establish contact now," Zolek countered, "before they become a genuine threat." The debate raged for days, as was the conclave way. Reports were analyzed, simulations run, ethical implications debated. The elders presented evidence of human ingenuity, resilience, and their troubling history of overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds. But in the end, practicality won over caution. The vote came down 412 to 88 in favor of establishing contact with humanity and beginning the resource extraction process in their sector. The elders' warning was noted in the official record but was ultimately disregarded. First contact occurred in what humans called the year 2157. A conclave delegation approached Earth's solar system, broadcasting messages of peace and advancement. The humans responded with cautious enthusiasm, their leaders eager to learn from a more advanced civilization. For 3 years, relations seemed promising. The conclave established outposts on Mars and Europa, sharing limited technology, with humans in exchange for mining rights. But tensions simmered beneath the surface. Humans questioned why certain technologies, particularly faster-than-light travel and advanced energy systems, were withheld. The conclave, following standard protocol for developing species, insisted humanity wasn't ready. The breaking point came when a human research vessel discovered a conclave mining operation on an asteroid that had been officially designated as a scientific preserve. The vessel was destroyed by automated conclave defenses, an unfortunate accident, according to conclave officials. 67 humans died. Earth demanded an investigation. The conclave offered condolences, but insisted it was an internal matter. When humans threatened to suspend all cooperation, First Minister Zolak saw an opportunity to finally implement full resource acquisition protocols, the diplomatic term for what was essentially subjugation. On a cold November morning in 2161, the conclave struck. Orbital platforms around Earth were disabled with precision strikes. Major military installations were targeted by kinetic bombardment, simple but devastating technology that accelerated massive metal rods to near relativistic speeds before dropping them from orbit. No nuclear weapons were used. The conclave wanted Earth's biosphere intact. Human resistance was expected to collapse within days. It did not. Despite the destruction of their most advanced weapon systems and the loss of global communication networks, humans fought back with startling effectiveness. Military and civilian populations alike adapted to the invasion with a speed that shocked conclave tacticians. Conventional weapons were repurposed. Infrastructure was sabotaged, then weaponized against conclave forces. Guerrilla tactics emerged simultaneously across the globe without central coordination. When the conclave deployed ground forces to secure key resource centers, they encountered humans who had already prepared traps and ambushes based on studying the aliens' first attacks. Where conclave forces expected surrender, they found improvised explosive devices. Where they sought to establish command centers, they faced populations that destroy their own infrastructure rather than let it fall into alien hands. 6 months after the initial attack, not a single major Earth city had been secured by conclave forces. In the Vakari Council chamber, Elder Thelian addressed an emergency session of the conclave leadership. His skin had grown pale with age and stress. The bioluminescent patterns dimmed like dying stars. "We warned you," he said simply. "Humans don't fight like we do. They don't think like we do. You believe their technological inferiority made them weak. But technology is just a tool. Their strength lies in their minds, in their ability to adapt, to improvise, to keep fighting when all logical analysis says they should surrender." Zolak, now Supreme Commander of the Pacification Force, dismissed the elders' concerns. "They're fighting with primitive projectile weapons against our plasma technology. Their aircraft can barely achieve orbital velocity. Their communication systems are ruins. It's taking longer than expected, yes, but victory is inevitable." "Is it?" Thelian gestured to the holographic display showing the latest battle reports. "Look at these figures. Our casualties increase exponentially each month. The humans are capturing our technology, reverse engineering it, combining it with their own designs in ways our engineers call crude but unnervingly effective. They're learning. Then we escalate," Zolak declared. "We target their population centers, show them the price of resistance." Elder Vosh, who had been silent until now, looked up sharply. "You still don't understand what you're facing. Humans don't break under pressure. They transform. Every hardship you impose will forge them into something more dangerous." As if to underscore her point, an aide rushed into the chamber with an urgent report. 3 conclave supply vessels had been destroyed in orbit around Mars. The attackers, retrofitted human mining ships armed with captured Conclave weapons. The impossible had happened. In less than a year, humans had taken their first steps into orbit warfare. Zolek stared at the report in disbelief. How did they adapt our weapon systems to their power infrastructure so quickly? Our analysts said it would take them decades to understand the principles. They didn't need to fully understand, Elder Thelian said quietly. That's what you fail to grasp about humans. They don't need perfect solutions. They'll use a partial solution now rather than wait for an optimal one later. And while that solution is working, they'll already be developing the next. The Conclave leadership departed in uneasy silence, leaving the elders alone in the chamber. Vosh turned to Thelian, her ancient eyes reflecting the golden light above. They won't listen until it's too late, will they? Thelian's skin rippled with patterns of mourning. No, and by then, the humans will no longer be fighting for survival. His four eyes blinked slowly, one after another. They'll be fighting for vengeance. The storm unleashed. 3 years into what humans had named the Resistance War, the Conclave Military Council gathered in their fortified command center on Proxima Centauri, the closest secure base to Earth. The mood was somber as Admiral Krelvax, the newly appointed Supreme Commander who had replaced the disgraced Zolek, addressed the assembly. The situation has become untenable, she stated, her chitinous exoskeleton clicking nervously. What began as a simple pacification has evolved into the costliest conflict in Conclave history. The holographic display in the center of the room showed the current state of the human solar system. Earth itself remained largely under human control, with Conclave forces holding only a few isolated footholds. Mars, once the headquarters of the Conclave offensive, was now a battleground where humans had adapted the subterranean mining facilities into fortresses. Most disturbing of all, the outer system, Jupiter's moons, and the resource-rich asteroid belt, had fallen completely to human control. How is this possible? Demanded Councillor Dreth of the Sarakot hierarchy. We still maintain technological superiority. We control the orbitals. Our manufacturing capacity dwarfs theirs. Admiral Krelvax gestured to her chief intelligence officer, who stepped forward with visible reluctance. The humans' approach to warfare defies our understanding, the intelligence officer explained. They prioritize rapid innovation over perfection. Their weapons and ships are often crude by our standards, but they're produced quickly and modified constantly. When a design fails, they don't discard it. They learn from it, iterate, and deploy a new version sometimes within days. She brought up footage of a recent battle near Ganymede. Conclave cruisers, elegant and powerful, faced off against human vessels that looked cobbled together from salvage and stolen technology. The human ships should have been easy targets. Instead, they operated in chaotic patterns, some sacrificing themselves to allow others to close distance and attach to Conclave vessels like parasites, drilling through hulls to insert boarding parties. They call these remora tactics, after an Earth creature that attaches to larger marine animals. The intelligence officer continued. The humans aboard don't expect to survive. They volunteer knowing it's almost certainly a death sentence. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Conclave's entire military doctrine was based on precision, efficiency, and the preservation of trained personnel. The idea of intentional suicide attacks was anathema to their philosophy. A Nelfian representative swirled anxiously. We must negotiate. Offer terms. Admiral Krelvax's mandibles clicked in what translated as a bitter laugh. We tried. 6 months ago, the human response was to broadcast footage of their devastated cities followed by a single message. We're coming. As if summoned by the words, alarms blared throughout the facility. The display shifted to show a fleet of ships decelerating from FTL travel at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. Human ships. Hundreds of them. Impossible, someone whispered. They can't have FTL technology yet. But they did. The mystery was solved moments later when detailed scans revealed the fleet composition. Leading the human armada were a dozen conclave vessels, captured intact and repurposed. Behind them came the human-built ships, clearly designed with partial understanding of conclave principles, but modified in ways that conclave engineers found baffling and inefficient. Yet they worked. They were here. The Battle of Proxima Centauri would later be recognized as the turning point of the war. For 19 hours, the carefully organized conclave defense grid faced a human assault that followed no recognizable doctrine. Human ships deliberately took heavy damage to close distances where conclave targeting systems were less effective. When conclave forces adapted, the humans changed tactics entirely, using mining equipment to create debris fields that fouled sensor systems. Most shocking was the ground assault. Human soldiers, using captured conclave landing craft, breached the Proxima base perimeter using tactics no conclave commander had anticipated. They intentionally crashed the vessels into the defensive barriers, then emerged from the wreckage to fight. The base fell within 27 hours. In the aftermath, Admiral Krelvax found herself a prisoner, brought before a human commander named Alessandra Chen. The human was physically unimpressive, smaller than most conclave species, with no natural armor or enhanced strength. Yet there was something in her eyes that unnerved the admiral. "Why fight like this?" Krelvax asked. "Your casualties must be enormous. You could have negotiated terms, preserved lives." Commander Chen studied the alien officer for a long moment. "My grandmother was in Beijing when your kinetic rods fell. 2 million people died in an instant. Do you know what she did afterward? She walked 60 kilometers through radiation and rubble to reach a manufacturing center, where she helped convert kitchen appliance factories to produce circuit boards for military equipment. She was 83 years old." Chen leaned forward. "Every human fighting this war has a story like that. We're not fighting for resources or territory or even survival anymore. We're fighting because you showed us what you are, what you'd do to us if we let you." "And what happens now?" the admiral asked. "Now we take the war to you, every conclave world, every outpost, every shipyard and resource depot. You'll never see us coming because we don't fight the way you expect. We don't stop when your models say we should. We don't break when you think we must." In the weeks that followed, the human fleet, growing as captured conclave vessels were integrated into their forces, pushed deeper into conclave territory. Centuries of peace had left most conclave worlds virtually undefended, their populations unprepared for conflict. On the Vakari homeworld, the Elder Council gathered one final time. Their warnings, dismissed for so long, had proven tragically accurate. Now the consequence of that dismissal approached their very doorstep. Elder Thelian, his once vibrant skin now pallid with extreme age, addressed the hastily reconvened conclave leadership. "The humans have taken 37 of our worlds. Not destroyed. Taken. They're establishing governments, setting terms. Some populations have actually welcomed them, seeing in human adaptability something our rigid structures have lost." Councillor Dreth, one of the few original council members to survive the political purges that followed the early military defeats, spoke with uncharacteristic humility. "What would you have us do, Elder? Our fleet is scattered. Our leadership in disarray." "Sue for peace," Elder Vosh said firmly. "Not from a position of strength. You have none left, but from understanding. The humans have proven they cannot be dominated by force. Perhaps they can be reached through respect." "Will they even listen?" someone asked. "After what we've done." Elder Thelian's skin pattern shifted to something none had seen before. Not quite hope, but something adjacent to it. "Humans are capable of great destruction, yes, but also of great creation. They fight with unmatched ferocity, but they can also forgive with unmatched compassion. It is what makes them so alien to us. Their contradictions, their capacity to hold opposing ideas simultaneously." The peace delegation departed that same day, traveling under a flag of truce to meet the human fleet at the edge of the Vakari system. They carried with them something unprecedented in conclave history, An unconditional surrender with a single request, not for leniency, but for understanding. The human response surprised everyone. Instead of dictating harsh terms or demanding reparations, they proposed an alliance. Not one of equals. They were clear about who had won, but one of mutual growth. The conclave would be restructured, its resources shared more equitably, its leadership diversified beyond the traditional power centers. And the elders, whose warnings had been ignored, would form the core of a new diplomatic corps dedicated to studying and truly understanding other species, beginning with humans. 1 year after the surrender, Elder Thelian, now serving as special ambassador to Earth, stood before a memorial in what had once been Beijing. Beside him stood Commander Chen, recently elected to Earth's unified government. "You were right to fear us," Chen said quietly. "We can be monsters when pushed." Thelian's skin rippled thoughtfully. "The tragedy is not that we feared you, it's that we didn't respect you. Fear without respect leads to foolish decisions." Chen nodded slowly. "And now we learn from each other. You teach us how to adapt, to embrace change rather than resist it. Perhaps we teach you the value of patience, of looking beyond immediate victories to see longer paths. And if we disagree?" Chen asked, a hint of the steel that had won the war showing in her eyes. Thelian's skin displayed a pattern that translated roughly as rueful amusement. "Then we remember what happens when anyone underestimates humanity's determination. Some lessons, once learned, are impossible to forget." As they walked away from the memorial, Thelian reflected on how the conclave's greatest defeat had perhaps saved them from stagnation. The humans were volatile, unpredictable, sometimes terrifying in their capacity for both destruction and creation. But they were also a mirror, showing the older species what they had lost in their pursuit of stability and control. The elders had warned that humans couldn't be stopped. What they hadn't foreseen was that perhaps they shouldn't be, that the storm they brought might clear away what needed to fall, leaving room for something new to grow in its place.